All right, guys. So the Jaguars news never stops. I did not think when I woke up this morning that I'd be making a video about Tony Boselli, but here we are. And it comes from former defensive end Bruce Smith, who is widely known as like one of the best, if not the best, defensive end to ever play in the NFL. He played most of his career on the Bills for almost like 20 years. I mean, he was a great player, all-time NFL sack leader, and Hall of Famer, obviously. So he went out on Instagram and made a very calculated statement. Now, to go back a little bit, Bruce Smith is a guy who he's kind of a salty guy. I mean, he's a player that when the Jaguars played the Bills in the 1996 playoffs, he was, the NFL Defensive Player of the Year that year. He was like pretty much the best player in football. I mean, he was the best player defensively, but he was out there having just a career year. And he went in there, and a second-year Tony Boselli absolutely dominated him. I mean, absolutely dominated him. And it's no question. This isn't a he said, she said things. It's on the tape. Tony Boselli dominated him, and he was very frustrated. And to this day, what is it, 25 years later, this man is still salty about it, and he always has been. And he went out on Twitter today and tore down Tony Boselli, and he tore him down. And this isn't something that like he said something on a radio and he said the wrong words and he misspoke. He's going to go back and apologize later. No, this was typed out on an Instagram post. And mind you, his Instagram page has 5 posts, and he made one solely to essentially bring down Tony Boselli in a way to almost like protect him in a way. And, we'll get into his statement. He basically put a 5-post statement, and I'll post it on this video right now if you want to read through it. I'm not going to read through everything because, you guys know how to read, and it's a little bit redundant. I'm sure all you guys have read it. But he went out, and I'm going to break it down right now, okay? I'm going to read the first 3 pages at the end, and I'm going to start off with the last 2 pages because what he said on the last 2 pages pretty much discredits anything he said on the first 3 pages. Now, one of his quotes was, "It's hard to compare Tony's body of work to the NFL's greatest left tackles." And he basically says, like, guys like Anthony Munoz, guys like this, you can't compare them. I mean, Tony Boselli is not as good as these guys. So this is him basically saying that Tony Boselli was not very good, and he should not be considered one of the best left tackles of all time. So that's him saying that. He also said, "In Jacksonville, Leon Searcy had the hardest job because he was protecting Brunell's blind side." So again, this is him saying that he didn't have it very tough with the Jaguars because because Mark Brunell was the guy that was protecting like Brunell's backside. And he said that Tony benefited from the extremely talented, mobile left-handed quarterback, which, yeah, I forget where Mark Brunell ranks on the NFL's top all-time quarterbacks. But yes, he was a good quarterback, but it wasn't like he was back there protecting for, like an NFL MVP. I mean, it was Mark Brunell. And this is just another thing of him saying that, look, he played left tackle. If he was right tackle, it'd be different because, Leon Searcy has a harder job. And then he goes on to point out just like random left tackles that had a good game against Bruce Smith. And it's like, oh, well, if Tony's a Hall of Famer, then these guys should be considered too. So like all these things are just kind of bringing down Tony Boselli, talking bad about his play and just discrediting like anything that he did in his NFL career. Now, let's go back and view some of the statements from the first part of his statement. He said, quote, "Any Hall of Famer can use his credentials to boast about his dominance over another member, but such behavior is deemed inappropriate because of the friction and discord it could create with the group." Which, first of all, Tony Boselli is not the guy that's bragging about it. This is people that are going to bat for Tony Boselli, guys in the media, the guys that are, in the Hall of Fame selection committee. When they're defending Tony Boselli, one of the things they said was like, look, when he was on the field, he was the best player on the field, not the best left tackle in the league. I mean, he was during his span of, 6 years that he was like the best left tackle in football. But when he was on that field, he was the most dominant player on the field. It doesn't matter if Bruce Smith's on the other side, or it doesn't matter if Jason Taylor's on the other side. Tony Boselli went out there, lined up, and dominated any player, and he was a true game changer. And also, and I'll go back and say this. When Tony Boselli goes on the radio, because Tony Boselli, I mean, he's on local Jacksonville radio and he's also on national media. And when guys say, Tony, go ahead and make your case for the Hall of Fame, whatever national show he's on, Rich Eisen, whatever, he'll say, look, I mean, turn on the tape. The tape says it all. Like, go look at the tape, look at how I played, and make the decision for yourself. I mean, I played very good football, but I don't need to sit here and sell you guys on me, because when you watch me, you can see how I play. He doesn't ever say, oh, well, I went out there and dominated Bruce Smith and Jason. Like, he'll never go out there and down talk any other player. This is solely from the Tony Boselli supporters that want him to get into the Hall, that say, look, like, he dominated against these different players. He dominated against like the best defensive end in football, one of the greatest all time. So, it's ironic when he says that. And he also says that, like, such behavior is inappropriate because of the friction and discord it could create within the group. Tony Boselli did not cause it. What are you doing right now? You are down talking Tony Boselli, and you're creating friction on your own. This is nothing to do with Tony Boselli. This is everything to do with you, because you're salty. And like, talk about friction created in the group. Dude, you're creating the friction. You're the one that's going out there and saying that these guys are more deserving to be in a Hall of Fame than Tony Boselli. Leon Searcy had the hardest job on the Jaguars, so he's not anywhere close to the Anthony Munizes of the world. This is him saying that, okay? So and the thing is, everybody is coming to Tony Boselli's side. Nobody is out there backing this man, backing Bruce Smith. Nobody is out there, because it's wrong what he's doing. It's coming from a position where, I don't know, I guess he's just, I don't know. It's hard to like justify these things. Now, a few questions I have is like, why now? Like, why put out this statement now? Because, Tony Boselli was a finalist from 2017 to January 2022 or whenever it was. For those 5 years, he was a finalist and didn't get in. Finalist didn't get in. For 5 years straight, it was like that. So, like, why not in that 5-year time span? Isn't that when you say, guys, like, stop, like, trying to, get him in the Hall of Fame by putting me down? But now he's in the Hall of Fame. Nobody's going out there batting for him, like, making a case for him, because he's in. He's not in a Hall of Fame, but he's being inducted in a couple months. So why wait till now? It's weird that he goes and puts out this statement right now where he's about to join this elite fraternity. Like, the first 3 pages is all about, like, oh, in the Hall of Fame, we have strict morals. We are the greatest of the great. We have high standards. We're the top men in the world. Like, it's all that stuff. And you guys all know what I'm talking about if you go back and read it. And it's just a D-bag move. I mean, it really is. And, like I said, nobody's really supporting him. And I think with this whole thing, it's just like, don't be salty. Like, don't be one of those guys, because like with me, if you're a good person, I want you to win. I want you to do good. In this world, one thing I've noticed as I've been growing up is there's like a lot of salty people in this world. Especially when you're like in high school, and we all know, like, when we're at playing pickup basketball, you beat a team 3-on-3, and they're all like being pissy with you after whatever. But this is 25 years after that little moment. But we all know those kind of people that get salty, and he's just one of those guys. And I know for me, like, I just if people go out there and do great things, it's because they earn it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to be jealous of somebody's, like, speaking from a YouTuber standpoint, I'm never going to be jealous of anybody's subscriber count if they have more subscribers than me, because look, they put in that work. You know what I mean? Like, I get to where I'm at because of the work that I put in. I don't have subscribers given to me. I had to go out here, put out content, be myself, and just, I don't know, do my thing, and they're going to come. I'm not going to look at this guy and, oh, he has 50,000, 100,000 subscribers. Why can't that be me? He's just, why? it's you gotta earn it, man. And one day there's gonna be another Jaguar YouTuber come out there, and he's going to one day probably surpass me in subscribers. And I'm not gonna sit here and be all sad and complain about it, because if they pass me in subscribers, then they deserved it. They earned it. I'm not gonna sit here and be salty. And this is what's happening right now with right now with Bruce Smith in this situation. It's like, okay, this guy gets in the Hall of Fame, and you just want to say a bunch of bad things about him, discredit him, and act like the game never happened back in the day. It's a really, really bad look, and it's disappointing. We're all excited for Tony Boselli to get in the Hall of Fame, and you can debate about, and he does mention, he even says this. He says Tony was a formidable opponent during his brief career. Okay, like talk about just throwing shade out there. He didn't have to say brief. He could have said Tony was a formidable player during his brief career. That might be the most backhanded compliment ever. I mean, formidable means solid. Brief career. We really need that adjective, It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Just don't be Bruce Smith. Don't be a guy like him. Cheer for people to win. It's just be a good person, I guess I should say. And whatever. I don't really know what else to say. It's just crazy getting up and reading this. It was a maddening post. It's like, dude, who pissed in your Wheaties this morning, man? I don't know. It was something different, but let me know what you guys think. Tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I have my podcast over on the Relevant app, the Duval Vibes podcast with Tom McManus. So download Relevant down below and join it. And also shout out to a couple new podcasts in there. We have Teal With It with Ernest and Zach. They're on it Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And also shout out to Spittin' Jags. They do a show at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursdays. That's with Jersey Jaguar and Stone Cold Steve Boston. So shout out to a couple new guys. And also Jordan DeLugo joined the team. There's all kinds of relevant exclusive Jaguar podcast right there. So if you guys want more Jaguars content, there's all kinds of stuff like that in a one-stop shop over on Relevant. So go join. You guys won't regret it. So with all that said, thanks guys for watching. Go Jags. You guys watched the whole video. Really appreciate that. You guys can subscribe to the channel for the best source of Jaguars news on the YouTube platform. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at UCF_Jaguar. And you can become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month for exclusive channel content. Thank you guys, and go Jags.